life in 3 dimensions got me bent and got me twisted. I know I done said a lot, but I should probably stop pretending. I don't really hold the key and I can't really push a button. I just step up to the mic and try my very best to bust it, but I ran out of breath. It's tight in my chest, my feet just might fail. I can't stand the pressure.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Racially Speaking, where we have real and honest conversations about race as it's viewed through the lenses of faith, family, and vocation. As always, I'm your host, David Phipps, and you're listening to episode 48. So I hope everyone is having a relaxing summer or beginning to summer. I know it can be crazy at times, but I really do hope you guys are able to relax. I'm relaxing as much as I can, my wife and I, as we adjust to having another newborn and now have 3 kids. They now outnumber us, so any and all prayers for our sleep schedule to return back to any semblance of normal are much appreciated. But I hope you guys are having a good summer, able to relax and spend time with family or go on vacations and whatnot. But I also know that summer is kind of crazy for some of y'all. In fact, we are heading out of town for about a week and 2 days at the time of recording this. So my schedule is crazy as well. So if that's you, I can empathize some. But before I head out of town, I wanted to do everyone a solid. I appreciate everyone that listens and supports the podcast. A good amount of you guys support the podcast financially, and so appreciate all you guys that have kept up. So I didn't want to leave you guys empty-handed. I wanted to jump on here and give you guys a little bit of my solo time and to talk about something maybe a little more lighthearted, so hopefully it's fun and interesting to listen to. But anyway, that is, of course, the newly released live-action Little Mermaid. So I wanted to jump on. I saw it opening weekend. My kids could not wait to see it. I won't lie. I and my wife could not wait to see it as well. We love musicals. We love Disney. We are still the family that heads to the theater as soon as we can. Like I mentioned, we have a baby at home, so maybe that's going to change here soon, but we're making it work. But I wanted to jump on, give some thoughts on what I thought about the movie. There was, of course, some important racial elements, as the new lead, Ariel, was played by Halle Bailey, a young, beautiful, up-and-coming black actress. I thought she did a fantastic job. So I'm going to jump right in here. And before I do, please rest assured, I'm just going to bury the lead here and say that I loved the movie. I thought it was fantastic. I'm not here to, so anyone that's thinking, oh, great, David's here to wreck what I thought about this movie, he's going to critique it and pick it apart. No, that's not what's going to happen here. I loved the movie, thought it was fantastic. Didn't just like it, I loved it. I thought it was one of the better live-action Disney movies that they've put out. Much, much, much better than The Lion King and Aladdin. I'm sorry if you thought those were good. I thought they were not good, to put it lightly. And those are, Aladdin and especially Lion King, I think, are 2 of the greatest movies that I grew up watching. Still, I'd put them up there, the originals, as 2 of my top favorites, and I thought the live actions were left much to be desired. Anyway, I thought that this recent release of The Little Mermaid was really, really good. I had my fears. I didn't know what the CGI would look like, what the graphics would look like, what the new songs would sound like. I didn't want, the acting to be poor. Obviously, I didn't want them to force new storylines that just weren't there for the wrong reasons. And, I thought that none of that happened. I thought it was fantastic and really, really have no complaints. I thought Halle Bailey did a fantastic job. Melissa McCarthy, Daveed Diggs, Awkwafina, I forget the gentleman that played Prince Eric, but I thought they all did great. And then King Triton, who his name is escaping me as well. Spanish actor, I believe. Javier Bardem. That's right, Javier Bardem. I remembered, sorry. I thought he did a fantastic job. I thought the movie all around was really, really good. I'll start off with talking about more of the diversity and the racial elements. So, like I said, Halle Bailey, not Halle Berry, Halle Bailey, young up-and-coming actress. I know her from her and her twin sister, Chloe, I believe, from the show Grownish, which was a spinoff of Blackish. They were in that show, and then I'm not sure what else they've been in, but this was kind of her really big, I think, coming out moment as a up-and-coming star, and I thought she did a fantastic job. I'm not even going to spend any time talking about the critiques coming into the movie. I know we've touched on it in the past of people's, uproar about replacing a, classically white princess character with a black actress, and the critique on that. I don't have much patience for that right now. I think you missed the mark a lot if you were critiquing the reasons for doing this, as the mermaids, or the Little Mermaid, mermaids in general, are fictional characters. There's absolutely all the reason in the world to make this change and to allow young girls of color, kids of color, people of color feel seen by actresses like this, and parts being played by not just white actresses. I thought they did a great job. I thought she was clearly very qualified. If you saw the movie, her voice is insane. It's incredible. The creative liberties they took with changing up some of the songs, even Under the Sea, if you haven't seen it, don't worry, they didn't change it dramatically, but the notes that they took liberties with to modernize part of that world, they did a really, really good job. Her voice sounds incredible. She's clearly one of the most talented and credentialed people to play this role, and I thought she did an absolutely perfect job. Costume looked great. She looked fantastic as Ariel. So I loved all that. As you can imagine, I've heard from several of my friends who have young black children, young black little girls, that it was just extremely meaningful for them, not just their little girls, but for them as adults to take their little girls to see this for the first time. So, I obviously don't have black children, but I love just taking my children, and then this is something they're going to grow up, and then this is their Ariel. Like, this is their Little Mermaid. This is what they're used to, and they don't know a world where there wasn't this character or diversity in the media and in entertainment in the movies that they're growing up seeing. I can count on one hand the movies that I saw with these kind of roles where it wasn't a white character. So that alone is just really powerful, and I thought they did a great job. Obviously, Awkwafina, Asian actress, played Scuttle. Daveed Diggs, black actor, from Hamilton, there's a deep cut, played Sebastian. They are people of color. Obviously, they are animals in the movie, so you can't see them, but just even the cultural elements and having those faces and voices gives diversity and inclusion to people seeing the movie and hearing their voices, not only seeing but being able to feel heard by the people playing those characters. I thought was just really, really good. So I have absolutely no real critiques. However, and I'm not setting myself up to give liberty to critique things. I'm not trying to go the other way with this. I'm really not going to critique things, but I want to address some of the critiques because I think this is a healthy thought exercise to do with something like this. So I think we need to get to a place where it's okay to address critiques without getting defensive. So I'm going to bring up a couple critiques of the movie that I've heard, read about, and listened to. Don't agree with it, in my heart. Like I said, I loved the movie. I don't agree with it in my heart, but I think it's important to understand where these are coming from. And I think it's okay to validate someone's critique of something without agreeing. I think it is healthy to get to that type of place. And again, we're talking about a Disney movie. So, this is, like I said, it's a little more lighthearted than some of our past recent episodes have been. So, look, critique number one, I'll go a little lighter and then heavier. was why were all of Ariel's sisters different races? So if you saw the movie, all of Ariel's sisters are, there's some of them are white, some of them are black, some of them are Asian, some of them are Hispanic, I think. And King Triton is, Javier Bardem, Hispanic or a Spanish actor. I can't remember where he's from. Very diverse, literally diverse looking, sounding, family, even right there. And to that, I'll just say stuff I've heard. I think the way you get around that, maybe, biologically it doesn't make sense. I had that thought for a brief second, but I think to know anything about mermaids, which I don't, I think we are to classify them as fish, sea creatures. And so looking at it through that lens, we need to understand that mermaids are fish. And if you think about fish looking all different, even if they're the same species, or I guess even thinking about it for the comparison of dogs, dogs are dogs, but there's obviously different kinds of breeds, and they can be related and whatnot. So I think that's the way that can be explained, but that's not even a huge critique. The next one I've heard is, why couldn't we have an all black cast, right? Why couldn't they just give the black community Ariel? Why couldn't Prince Eric be black? Why couldn't Ursula be black, or King Triton? Why couldn't everybody be black? I think that is a fair question to ask on one side of things, because I think the rhetorical answer is because then it'd be considered a black film, wouldn't be as successful, and there'd be a lot of backlash. I think that's fair to assume would be the case if that just flat out, without any gray area, were to be what they did with the cast. So, do I think it's okay that there'd be backlash about that? No, I don't. Because if you understand the history of film, history of entertainment, just like anything, that is how it's been in the past. It's always been, historically white people. And if it's not, and that was the norm. And if it's not white people, an all black film is considered a black film, and all white film is just considered a film or a play or a musical. So I think that's where I'd point us to understand where a critique might come from. So I think that is a fair question to ask. With that said, I don't want to always be somebody that tears something apart and tears it down. I want to always be somebody that sides with the people and the marginalized and the people that feel real hurt and real pain from not being represented. So I think that, again, is a fair question to ask. But I don't know if that needs to be a complete negative reaction to the movie, in a sense of labeling it as problematic or a terrible movie, because that wasn't the case. I think the elements and themes of representation and interracial relationships, obviously I'm biased, I'm in a interracial relationship, in marriage, and have an interracial family, but I think the themes that were under that umbrella were really important and powerful. Of course, Prince Eric was a white actor. Again, I apologize, I don't know his name. I didn't recognize him before, but I thought he was a really, really good actor. I even think that the expanded storyline he got was helpful and actually complemented the movie. It didn't come off to me, again, it's fair if you don't think this, but it did not come off to me as catering towards a strictly white audience. I thought he was a really good character that was good to see some development behind. So that's kind of where I stand with that. I think it can also be hurtful to, like I said, like a young actress like Halle Bailey. And I think it can be distracting if all we do is be negative and critique this movie. And it kind of distracts from her success and her, like I said, kind of coming out role as a serious actress and an incredibly talented actress. I wouldn't want to detract from her success needlessly. Like, I don't think this was something that was super problematic beyond it being a fair question to ask. I hope that makes sense. So I think that's how I would explain personally that. I thought they did a great job with interracial relationships and kind of interweaving different cultures throughout the film. I thought it was really, really good. Okay, this next critique was more of a heavy-handed one, and I kind of landed in the same place as the latter of the one I just talked about. But again, I think it's worth discussing and addressing instead of just dismissing as an overreaction. So I heard a critique by I believe a journalist, maybe it was another podcaster. Actually, let me just look it up. Journalist Marcus Ryder slams the Little Mermaid remake for ignoring slavery in its chosen setting. Okay, so obviously whenever something like slavery is brought up, I think it's important to talk about here on this podcast. I'm not ever going to skirt around that because I think, I land on the side of it does inform present day. It does inform present day. Even if some of you disagree with that, that's where I'm at with that. So with this critique, again, Marcus Ryder, a journalist, slams the Little Mermaid remake for ignoring slavery in its chosen setting. And so I kind of looked into this a little bit, and I think where this is coming from is, so I don't believe there was ever like a timeline or like a call out on the screen of, saying the date or even location of where this was. If you noticed, Daveed Diggs, Sebastian had a kind of inexplicable Jamaican accent that, that can be, we can discuss that another time maybe. I was okay with that. Maybe we'll discuss it now because I think the original Sebastian, kind of had an accent as well. That you're not exactly sure where this is actually taking place. You can make some guesses based on what you're seeing, the ship, what the characters on land are wearing, and all that. I get that. So here's what I'll say about this. Marcus Ryder slamming the Little Mermaid remake for ignoring slavery in its chosen setting, I think is both a fair question or it's a fair thing to think about, but I think it's too much, to put it briefly. I think it's too much. So here, I'll start with the fair part. I didn't know this till I looked into it a little bit, but so there was the original cartoon Little Mermaid, way back when I was growing up, and then there was an original by the original fairy tale story was actually published by Hans Christian Andersen in 1837. So we forget that a lot of these stories originated way back then, right? 19th century. So 1837, the original fairy tale was published. So for those of you non-history people, 1837, there was absolutely slavery going on. Slavery was alive, well, and thriving. So I will say that I think that's important to understand when reading something like a Marcus Ryder slamming the movie for ignoring slavery in its chosen setting. I think that's a fair critique to shed light on, but like I said, I think it's too much. So it's a children's movie, right? I just think it's acting a lot for the historical accuracy about slavery to be portrayed in this movie. I'm never one, hopefully you guys know me well enough by now, to skirt around truth with this stuff and what's actually happening. But as somebody that watched the movie, I did not watch it thinking there was an egregious tiptoeing around problematic racial elements in order to appease people. I'm not saying it's impossible that didn't go on, but I did not personally think that was going on. So, I mean, I think I would say to somebody like Marcus Ryder, who made this critique, what did you expect? And if you were to have it your way, what would you ask of the producers of this film to do? How are we to implement slavery on the shore when Ariel goes on shore? I think this just it's just a bit much. I don't know what would have been a healthy thing to portray. Are we gonna have her go to the surface and become enslaved, or see people that look like her I don't know, being forced to work and do things? I think that just comes off as maybe more damaging than good in this particular instance. Again, I in no way am encouraging people to skirt around real issues, but I think that's a bit much. I thought they did a great job with without having slavery portrayed. Again, I don't even think they can necessarily be called out for tiptoeing around it, because they didn't say in 1837 ... Like it was just a movie and happened. I guess you can make his assumptions from what they were wearing and whatnot, but I didn't have a actual problem with how they navigated these things. So all that to say, I'm at about 20 minutes now. Thought the film was really good. I encourage everyone to see it. I think the music was really good. I think the few songs that they added, I know have been critiqued a little bit, I thought were really good. I'm biased because if you didn't know, Mr. Lin-Manuel Miranda, writer of Hamilton, writer of everything lately, did some of the music, and I thought he did a fantastic job. I mean, my wife has informed me, though, that Gen Z, for those Gen Zers that listen, actually are cringe at Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like he's not cool to them. So I don't know what this says about me, but I'm biased. I think he's doing a great job. But again, I'm open to hearing critiques because I think that's fair. But I thought he did a good job. Yes, they do sound In the Height-esque, Hamilton-esque, but they're short and I think fun. One of the songs is called Scuttlebutt. Obviously, my 7 and 4-year-old love the title of that one. Okay, I thought the movie was really, really good. You guys should see it. I hope this was helpful. Email me, DM me, text me, call me if you have thoughts about this episode, thoughts about the movie. I would love to hear more of them. Thank you guys for listening. Please consider joining our Patreon to support the podcast, as well as help us give money to first-generation BIPOC students to purchase their textbooks, their college textbooks. Also consider please follow us and consider checking out our YouTube station. We did kind of a soft establishment or launch of it about a year ago. We really don't have much up on it right now other than a few videos that we've also put out on social media, but we are going to start putting more stuff up that kind of complements the podcast, and the podcast will start to complement it along the way. So please join, like, subscribe to both the podcast and the YouTube station. Write us a review, give us 5 stars. It all really does help us out, even if it seems like it doesn't. Please do so. If you don't want to give us 5 stars, please don't give us 1 star. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. The music you're listening to is done by our guy Dylan Dent, and our artwork is created by Ashley Bush, and we'll see you guys next time.
The nightmare might scare you, no worse than reality. They hunt you by day, R.I.P. Ahmaud Arbery. Everybody got a time, but that's less than comforting. I hope I'm alive by the time they choose to comfort me. Mosquitoes in the vein, or leeches on my soul. This money on my mind is a fracture in my bones. You get crippled by continuing existence like a ghost. And they wonder why we drink, and they wonder why we smoke, and they wonder why we think that everything's a joke. I'm shocked that we can sleep, must be the thought of letting go.